Okay guys, here's a little experiment for you. If you could spend some time looking at the picture on the screen, take a good look at it basically, and I'm just going to leave you to see what you think.
Hi guys, welcome to this tactical video. This is the fourth part in my series on how to make assault work in Warhammer 40,000, and yeah, this time I'm talking about distraction. Now, if you did my little experiment at the start of this video, then I'm wondering if you noticed something. So you've got all these things as you were looking, blah blah blah, all these units. Imagine your sister battle, of course, at this end. But does anyone notice in this building, let's see if we can actually focus, there are two dreadnoughts hiding in the building. Now why is that relevant, you ask? Okay, you were actually, well, you were looking at this for 30 seconds, say. Okay, you were looking at this battlefield for 30 seconds as it is a raid from this perspective, okay? The average turn in 40k lasts about 10 to 20 minutes, okay? You will be looking at this scene for that long, okay? Now, you will have seen the dreadnoughts move in, okay? Maybe he ran. After that, probably didn't shoot or anything like that, he's saving them for assault, okay? There is the thing. You're going to forget about it because it's been there so long. It's not doing anything, and in your face you have, as you can see, you've got troops there probably taking an objective or something, backing up these. You've got the drop pod with all these stone guard in, and of course some kind of character, librarian guy. You've got the bites coming in with a melter, going to blow up this tank, going to kill this rhino, going to kill them. Got the speeder backing it up with the flamers. Of course in the back you've got your predator there, and then you've got a tactical squad over there, and you've got a fire cannon there. Maybe he's got some reserves coming on. You've got all these things to worry about, and they're all in sight, especially these elements that are up the field, okay? You're gonna forget about certain things like that when they're not having a factor that turn, okay? That is distraction. It's literally putting things in your opponent's face and, you know, making him make tough decisions and focus on this kind of thing, so he can't focus on that. He's going to forget about it. Now, another example is when an opponent has lots of units in reserve, maybe tiny little units, for instance, Orc Scorchers that can outflank. Those are very efficient, okay? The reason being is because they're quite small models. They sit off to the side of the table. You're focusing on the action. There's enough stuff on the table against Orcs anyway, okay? You forget they're there. It's so easy to forget they're there. And how many times has that happened to you that you've forgotten about the reserves yet to come on, okay? It's the exact same principle of having these dreadnoughts hiding in there, because from this perspective you're not going to see. Now the obvious solution is, on your turn you should always like move around the battlefield, have a good look, you know, that kind of thing. See it from angles, see it from your opponent's perspective especially, and it's easier to predict what he's going to do. But this is a potent tool, because the human brain just cannot process so much stuff and remember that all the time. And it probably does remember they're there, but the less of a scale of a threat they appear because they're just not visible, okay, then, you know, there's all these. And even if they're very competent, they know they're there the entire time, okay? Look at all these threats they've got to deal with, okay? If they don't deal with them, they're in trouble, okay? The dreadnoughts are embedded in cover. You'd have to get up there with something that could kill them in cover, okay, and then root them out, specifically ignoring these other elements, okay? Would you go for the easier target to kill, which is a very pressing danger as well, or go for the difficult one to kill, or just wait for it to come out? And that's how you make it work, because I mean, distraction is a tool for any situation. It's not just assault units, but it's very, very potent for assault units for these reasons. You just need to give your opponent enough other things to think about, so that focusing on those assault units just cannot be done. So you shove things in their face. Drop pods are very, very useful for this situation. Anything that's fast moving, like for instance this rhino coming up here. Okay, in a sense, the distraction is helping them as well. Because if they were holding an objective there, they've managed to come up here more or less unmolested. They're not an immediate threat to your army. So what's he going to do? Is he going to shoot at those troops, or is he going to shoot at these stone guard here? And the drop pod and this character. This is how it can work. And because there's so much, it's difficult to do, and this is a very, very potent tool for Warhammer 40,000. So yeah, you can use it for many things, and the trick is to have as many things doing this as possible. So even if they remember the Dreadnought, he'll have to go in there, attack the Dreadnought, and that kind of thing, and ignore those troops. Or maybe it's like, right, I've got to clear this flank, so kill that, kill that, kill that, kill the Rhino even, because it's obsect these days. Kill the Dreadnoughts if you can, and there's this flank still, so that's how you get it done. So as I say, anything fast moving is very useful. Now for Sisters of Battle, of course, that basically relies on your transports. So you've got your Rhino. That gets your troops upfield quickly. Now the best way of doing that is to cover a single flank and drive up and make sure you put all your prominent targets on that flank. Not necessarily in the open, because you want cover saves and that kind of thing, but to focus on that flank, make a prominent looking target whilst you deal with other things piecemeal, and lay traps and that kind of thing. Now what really helps with that, of course, is Seraphim, because they move fast, and mainly Dominions, because of course they can outflank, or even scout if you get the first turn you prefer. And of course, coming in from reserves is a major distraction, because, like for instance, your Sisters of Battle again, something coming on from reserves can quite easily move and land here behind the battle lines. The guys get out, okay, and then of course the problem is you've got to turn and face them. They're in your thing, they're going to get line break, and they're going to take your objectives. They're going to kill your troops at the back, who are probably ones you want to protect, like maybe the characters and that kind of thing. So you'd have to pull back. It's going to get your exercise. Big distraction, okay? You want to kill it because it's a prominent threat, and because of that, the troops in there can get through. Now, even with this, you want to make it as difficult as possible to protect your dreadnoughts. So you want to make it really difficult for the opponent to shoot these dreadnoughts. So that's why moving them through cover, not only does it block line of sight, gives them the cover save, and again, it deters them from being attacked when you have other things in the open, for instance the drop pod. The land speeder, which of course could have cost Jink, but the other good thing about things like that is it's cheap, and that's the next part of a distraction unit. You want to basically throw up something, if it's coming down a drop pod, that kind of thing, you want to throw down something that's either very hard to kill and resilient, or cheap and expendable, yet dangerous enough to cause damage. Fully expect them to die. Okay. Now the benefits of both. The cheap one is obvious. It can kill things, it can do damage. Okay. It needs to do that because otherwise it's not enough of a threat to worry about. It needs to do something in some way. Maybe it's take objectives like scouts or something like that, and just pick up those victory points. Dies really easily, but otherwise maybe it's a command squad with lots of flamers, and they're going to go, or a command squad with melter guns. Kill the Rhino, kill the Exorcist, that kind of thing. Big threat, okay? Cannot have it running around in your backfield. Now, they'll die pretty easily. That doesn't mean you can't make it more difficult for them to be killed. In fact, it's often a good way, and when they start shooting at them, you want to cause just go to ground, last as long as possible. But, again, you want it to be a threat, you want it to be targeted, and you need it to go in with the full knowledge that it's probably going to die very early, okay? But that doesn't matter. Job done. It'll kill something when it arrives, buys you a turn, maybe 2 turns at best, to get your bikes, your speeders, and everything in second wave, get up and support, okay? And it's already done the damage. Now the second one is resilience, which for instance could be a big squad of Marines, could be Terminators coming in. Excuse me. The way this works is very similar. It may not be as potent a threat, but it's still a big prominent thing visually. So for instance, big squad of 10 Terminators in the backfield, not a threat initially, but it's going to be a real thorn in the side. Very, very hard to shift. Now, because it's very hard to shift, it buys you more turns. So whilst it's not doing as much damage, and protecting them that way because it's less firepower coming towards the rest of your army, it's causing a constant nuisance, and it needs to be killed, and you'll probably have less troops because it'd be more expensive coming in. So again, it protects your troops because they have to focus on them, and you can get in much, much easier, and there you go. So that was the general principle, of course, of distraction, but that's how it works. Okay, and you can see how it benefits your close combat army because your dreadnoughts start all the way over there, for instance, start them beyond the trees, out of sight, that kind of thing, get cover safe, maybe in that building instead. They move, they run, you can cover them with the rhinos and that kind of thing, but you know, they're over there, okay, say turn 1, bikes straight up, things shooting from all back there over here, you've got that going flat out at the same time, and of course you've got the drop pod, which is now here, so ignore that, spewing out its contents, causing damage. It's a lot to focus on, and you know, it does distract you from the dreadnoughts over there. Who's going to shoot them? Who's going to shoot a dreadnought over there when you've got all this going on? Then the next turn rolls around, and you know, bikes get in, there's probably some of them left, that's going to get in, disgorge its contents, more shooting coming in, other army elements coming forward, dreadnoughts, move, run, they're there, okay, ready to move because it's unlikely they're going to get shifted, and they're in a perfect like counter-assault outfit, that kind of thing, and this is how it works. And it's the same for System of Battle with Penitent engines, it's similar for Repentia, that kind of thing. Now, a couple more little tips to make this work effectively if you are the person moving these units. Okay, when it's a glass cannon unit, like the Sisters of Battle ones for example, a big squad of Repentia is still more prominent because it is a bigger footprint, it's harder to hide, and generally speaking, psychologically, they're going to notice it more, they're going to notice it happening. Now you can limit this in the sense that they notice it. All you need to do is basically think about when you're going to move it. So generally speaking, the very first model you move in a game is quite prominent because it's the first thing you move. Your opponent's paying attention at that point. Okay. Likewise, the very last things you do are also forefront in the mind because it's going last, it's the last thing to happen before they do their thing. Okay. If you do it somewhere in the middle, then you tend to switch off a little because you've got all this going on again. So it makes the distraction units more prominent if you shove them down first. So the drop pod comes in first, bam, straight away. The bikes go up, the speeder comes up, the rhino comes up. Okay, you might jostle for position on firing lines back there, that kind of thing. That'll tilt a bit. But in the middle of all that, the dreadnoughts walk forward. It's such a mundane action that people won't really think about it because everything else is happening. These are more prominent, they're faster, and of course they happen first, so it's fresher in the mind. Now when all the shooting starts and all this is coming in, maybe you've got the psychic powers going on, they're shooting, all this damage is coming in. Again, dreadnoughts just run. So mundane that you're not really going to think about it. And that is basically it, because you don't want to draw attention to them. You want them to do their job. So shooting with them is generally not that good an idea, but if you are going to shoot with them and that kind of thing, or they have some kind of shooting potential, then make sure you do it relatively early on, or when they're already close enough that it doesn't matter anymore. So what I mean is, in the shooting phase, shoot a couple of your most devastating units first, then shoot dreadnoughts, whatever, if you can. I mean, sometimes it's more efficient to shoot the dreadnoughts first and see what happens and then shoot something else, but you know, you have to weigh this up at the time, because everything exists as it does on the table, and you know, there's no perfect situation, you have to tailor it. So think about when you're shooting it to draw the least attention to it in response, and you will be able to protect them enough to the point where they'll still have enough efficiency afterwards to be able to kill this stuff, because what's going to happen is they come out there, use their flamers maybe, kill these troops, that can support them, and then of course the bikes kill that, kill the rhino. They're probably in trouble anyway because of that, so there you go. That is effectively it. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, remember to click like, don't forget to comment and subscribe of course, and I'll be back soon with more tactical videos. Thanks for watching.